Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, June 21st, and we have UFC Fight Night 132 coming up this weekend in Singapore. We're going to break down the betting odds and give some possible betting value tips on the main card of UFC Fight Night 132 right now with our regular returning guest, expert MMA and boxing odds analyst, Andreas Hale. Andreas Hale, thanks for being back with us once again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's see what we can suss out here. In general, Andreas, when you and I have agreed on a play, it's tended to be excellent going back a long way. I can't even remember if there was a play that we both agreed on that's lost in a while. I'm sure there was one, but I just can't remember it. The main event here is Donald Cerrone against Leon Edwards. Now, this is, of course, youth against experience here. Once again, we have a big, well-known veteran as a big underdog here, maybe getting a little bit disrespected or maybe not. But my thought, I'm looking at this fight, the total is 2.5 rounds, the under is plus 100, and of course the fight is scheduled to go 5 rounds, and the fight not going the distance is minus 205, which is a little bit of a high favorite line there. But I'm thinking that, of course, we know Cerrone loves to brawl. There can be decisions that he's involved with, but much more likely than not, I feel like we're going to see a finish here. Is the fight not going the distance at minus 205 maybe worth a play? And is Cerrone getting disrespected here at plus 170 or not?
Let's start with Cerrone being disrespected. Yes, he is. Donald Cerrone is 1-3 in his last 4 fights, but he's lost to top-tier competition. Darren Till, who just beat Wonder Boy, Robbie Lawler, and Jorge Masvidal. Leon Edwards has never fought anybody in the top 10. Now, I know that we've talked about this before, about the youth movement, but Cerrone shouldn't be this big of an underdog. If anything, I thought it'd be closer to even money. So he's absolutely getting disrespected. On the line about this fight not going the distance, it doesn't seem like Cerrone's a guy who likes to go the distance anyway, and Edwards is here to make a point. So I'll agree with you with this fight not going the distance may be the play here. The under is just something I'd stay away from because I have no idea when this fight will probably end. But I just don't think we're going to go a full 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, Andreas. I think I'm going to make the fight not going the distance, 5 rounds at minus 205 as an official play. But I'm thinking that maybe, I don't know, I don't want to lay 200 with Edwards. But my sense is that, of course, Cerrone had a lot of high-profile losses, too tough competition, admittedly. Then he knocked out Medeiros in his last fight. But that was sort of, I think, Medeiros maybe not fighting a very smart game plan against Cowboy. You know, they were just swinging for the fences, and Cowboy got the knockout. Edwards strikes me as a guy who, he snuck his way into the top 15 now. He seems like a very smart fighter. His fight IQ seems pretty high, and it seems like he's going to have a smart game plan to do against Cowboy. He's not going to let himself get caught in the way that Medeiros did. So I'm thinking that Edwards should be the favorite here.
Yeah, I just don't think it should be this much. You know, his only top 10 fighter that he's lost to was Kamaru Usman, and Usman pretty much grounded him for the entire fight. Everybody else, if you look at Leon's record, it's not, nobody really stands out. So yeah, maybe he should be a favorite, but maybe minus 120, minus 130, minus 200 is just a little bit too much, and it makes me go inside with Donald Cerrone here because Cerrone is a seasoned veteran. Yes, he's got a lot of mileage on him, but he's got the skill and technique, and Leon Edwards is a guy who does pretty much everything well, but nothing outstanding. So there is a chance that Donald could slip in the back door here, and there's some value at him at plus 170, and that line I think might be still moving up closer to fight night. So that would be my actual official pick, more so than the fight ending inside the distance. I like Cowboy. I know I picked him a lot of times. I know I picked him against Till and he lost, but I just think that Edwards is taking a big step up here against some elite competition.
Yeah, he certainly is. But my sense is that he's probably ready for it, maybe not. And I agree with you. Minus 200 is really pushing it. Edwards inside the distance is plus 101, which is maybe pushing it a little bit as well. All right, I'll make the fight not going to 5-round distance minus 205 as an official pick for me. Andreas Hale, do you want to give an official pick on this one? Cerrone at plus 170.
I'm going with Cerrone at plus 170. It's a little bit too much value for me to pass that pick up.
All right, okay, and I'm also leaning pretty heavily towards taking Edwards inside the distance at plus 101. These are lines right now at 5 dimes, but I think I'll think about that one a little bit more. Now let's move on to a OSP against Tyson Pedro. This is another interesting fight. Pedro, when he wins, he tends to win. He wins by knockout, usually in the first round. Actually, all 3 of his wins in the UFC have come in the first round. He did take a loss against Latifi in his last fight that went the distance. OSP also also lost to Latifi. So on paper, this is a very evenly matched fight. I'm thinking, though, maybe right now Pedro is a small favorite at -125, and the line hasn't moved much since it opened. I'm looking at this. I'm thinking that, OSP could win inside the distance. If it goes to the cards, I think OSP again has the edge here. Tyson Pedro, pretty much the only way he's going to win this one, I think, is by steamrolling through OSP, which he could do. I'm thinking OSP at +105 might have at least a little bit of value. I don't know. What do you think about this one, Andreas?
It does have a little bit of value here. OSP got choked out by Latifi, and Latifi, he won a decision against Tyson Pedro. Pedro, all of his victories have come in the first round, outside of the UFC and inside the UFC. So the under here is the play to go with. Somebody's getting finished, and it should happen pretty quick. OSP is a guy, he's very unorthodox. He leaves himself open to a lot of counter strikes. He leaves himself open to submissions. He's a raw talent with a lot of power. Tyson Pedro is a little bit more polished, but he doesn't have that raw talent and power like OSP does. So there is some value with OSP here because he's faced some veteran opposition. But I just kind of like this fight not going the distance. I think that's the play here because somebody's got to get finished.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it looks like at first glance on paper. But sometimes when you have fights like these, maybe I'm overthinking it, but they do turn into like wars of attrition. I mean, we have seen that in the past. And I'm thinking that maybe OSP is going to look at this and think, if I can get this to the cards, then I definitely have a big edge. I just need to avoid the early, finish by Tyson Pedro. So maybe OSP is going to have a game plan that he thinks will neutralize Pedro's advantages that will make the fight more likely than normal to go to the cards. You know what I'm saying?
No, I know exactly what you're saying, but OSP is the guy who just kind of goes in there and does his thing. I don't think he ever game plans for anything. Those Von Flue chokes that he gets are really surprising. He doesn't necessarily plan for them. So I think game plans go out the window once you get punched in the mouth, as Mike Tyson once said. Yeah. So I think both these guys are going to go in here with a plan to probably go the distance. And this is going to go balls to the wall the first the first minute of the fight, and somebody's going to get hurt. So I see what you're saying, and this happens more often than not. But when you got somebody like Tyson Pedro who finishes everybody in the first round, and you have OSP, a guy who's finished a lot of fighters in the first round, I don't see this thing going the distance.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking about as well. I was thinking that OSP just to win at +105 might be worth a shot. Then I was thinking, well, the fight's probably not going to go the distance. So OSP inside the distance right now at 5 dimes is +185. But then I started thinking again, maybe overthinking myself or outthinking myself, that OSP might have a strategy here to make the fight go to the cards where he'll have a big advantage. But I'll tell you one thing, I will definitely take OSP at +105. Obviously, Pedro could get the win here, but I'm thinking that OSP should probably be at least a little bit of a small favorite here. So I'll take OSP to win at +105. You want to make an official pick, Andreas?
Let's make it fun. I'm going to actually take OSP inside the distance. I'm going to go there with it. I think there's little value there. Yeah. I don't see it going the distance. I see that Tyson Pedro may try to get the finish here, but he hasn't really dealt with anybody with that kind of power like OSP. He's just wild, unorthodox, and when he lands, it hurts. And I think Pedro might overcommit on something and get clocked and get finished. So I'm going to take OSP inside the distance.
All right. That is +185 right now at 5 dimes, and the fight not going 3 rounds. Again, the total is 1.5. The fight not going the distance is -195. Is that a little too steep for you, Andreas, or does that sound appealing as well?
It's not appealing. It's not something I'm going to put some value in because you may be right about your game plan. So I'll stay away from it. It seems spot on, and it seems like something that I wouldn't bet on, even though I like it a lot.
Okay, so Andreas Hale and I both taking OSP. I'm taking him any which way at +105, and Andreas Hale taking OSP inside the distance at +185. Right now, let's move on to another fight, which is very interesting, right? Jessica Rose Clark against Jessica Eye. Now, this line right now is Rose Clark at -125, Eye at +105. A few days ago, I was a significantly bigger underdog, and I was thinking that I was going to give her as an official pick. I did better at that line, and now, of course, the line again has gotten bet down. Eye is +105. Of course, Eye has been on an extended run of losing fights, but she's been fighting top competition. Jessica Rose Clark against on a 2-fight winning streak, but against inferior competition. I'm thinking this is a step up for Jess, and I think that she's going to, she's not going to have the physical size advantage that she's had in her last 2 fights, and I'm thinking that Eye might be again a small underdog worth a shot. I liked her at +125, now at +105. Not exactly sure how I feel about it. And the market very strongly expects this fight to go the distance. It's a 3-round fight. Over 2.5 rounds is -500. The under is plus 400, which makes sense because neither of these fighters has really knockout power, and their fights tend to go the distance, but that is a huge, anything can happen in MMA. We know that. We've seen that. So I don't know, man. Under 2.5 at plus 400. Does that have value? I'm not sure. And who should be the favorite here, in your opinion, Andreas Hale?
Jessica Rose Clark. I mean, Jessica, she won her last fight by split decision. If I remember correctly, it was a very close fight that could have went the other way. Other than that, she's gone to decision and she's losing fights. So, Rose Clark has the momentum here. She's a great grappler. She grounded Paige Van Zandt. Won a unanimous decision. Before that, she had a kind of a split decision with Beck Rawlings. I like Jessica I plus 125. I don't like her at plus 105. And now it's become so narrow that I don't like either of them. I'm going to stay off of this one. I think it's going to be a little bit too competitive, but I like Rose Clark, but not with this particular line. And like you said, there is the size advantage that she has, she's not going to have here.
Right. So I was thinking maybe a Jessica I by decision. Let me see where that would be. I by decision plus 160. That's interesting.
That makes things. Yeah. I might have to go with that at plus 160. Well, what's Rose Clark by decision?
Jessica Rose Clark by decision plus 125.
Yeah, I won't bet that.
Tough one.
There's value in the Jessica I. But I'm going to stay off of this one. I'm going to leave that one for you, Pete, if you want.
Yeah. All right. I will take Jessica I by 3-round decision at plus 160. Maybe it's just a matter of how much. Would you agree that this is Rose Clark's toughest fight in her career to date?
Yeah. I mean, Paige Van Zandt would probably be it, but Paige Van Zandt is shaping up to be one of those fighters who's not as good as we thought she was. So maybe I is the stiffer competition here, more well-rounded. So I'm probably going to agree with you there.
I'm also just concerned because it feels like a little bit of like a no-win situation for Clark, and I don't like betting on fighters when they're in those situations where if they win, they don't get much of a boost, but if they lose, they get a big knock to their reputation, and that feels like how things are going right now for that feels like how this fight sets up for Clark. From a matchup perspective, it's a very interesting test from her, but from like a business sense, it feels like it wasn't a great move.
Yeah, so it's a trap fight, more or less. You put her in this kind of a fight, and if she loses, it hurts her way more than it does if she wins. So, it's a tough fight for her, and I know she's going to train hard, but it's kind of hard to get motivated against somebody who's 1-4 in their last 5 fights. So there could be that coming into play as well.
All right, I'm going to take a shot with Jessica I by decision at plus 150. She's a little like Holly Holm. She works from the outside. She gets a big volume of punches. And if Clark doesn't have a big size advantage as she had in her last 2 fights, she might be vulnerable. She might a lot of her positives might be neutralized here. So I'm going to take a shot with it. This fight could go either way, but I'm going to take a shot with Jessica I by decision at plus 160. And now let's just move on to the 4th fight on the card. A very interesting fight. 2 Asian fighters who are very well regarded in their home countries. Li Jingliang against Daichi Abe, and Jingliang is a huge favorite here. Minus 360 a few days ago, now down to minus 330. I think I'm going to pass on this one. Not sure what to make of it. Any betting edge you see here, Andreas?
No, I don't see any betting edge. Jingliang is a big favorite here. He probably should be. I don't know enough about Abe to even make a wager on him, so I'm going to stay off of this one.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm agreeing with that. Andreas Hale. All right, so just 4 fights on the main card, but Andreas Hale and I both have a bunch of plays here. I'm going to take in the Cerrone Edwards fight, the fight not going the distance at minus 205, and you took Cerrone, right?
That is correct.
That's right. And I'm going to take OSP to win any which way. Andreas Hale took OSP inside the distance. And I'm taking a shot with Jessica I by decision at plus 160. Andreas Hale, as always, great analysis. Thanks so much. Talk to you again very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.